That game was nothing but nets for the Suns, and we're also going to be talking some Haynes briefs, but I promise this post-game show won't stink.
We finally beat a bad team by double digits. Let's go! The Suns kind of sleptwalked their way into a 20-point victory, 108-84 over the Brooklyn Nets. Welcome into the PHNX Suns postgame show. I'm Eric, that's Steven, that's Gerald, who's fist pumping with the sexy sax. Crazy computer boy Noah behind the Mac. Making all of the magic happen is your Phoenix Suns. Clawed, scratched their way back above 500. Gerald, I need you to give me something with that sexy sax. More.
Sorry, this is how it felt watching the game.
Just a casual fist bump.
They did it. They beat
It was
the
a
Nets.
win. We're going to celebrate because it was a win.
Yes.
It was also maybe some of the worst basketball I've ever seen in my entire life at some points, but it was a win nonetheless. Thank you, everybody. Lucas, King Nacho, Sean, Wow Factor, James, Millo, Hello, He's on Fire, Kev, Billy, the Damari, everybody who's in here for the PHNX Suns postgame show. Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. No better way to segue into this game than the words never ordinary, because, Steven, the Suns got a win, but it wasn't the prettiest.
Wasn't pretty at all. Most wins at the end of a 4+ game road trip typically aren't. You just want to be on that right side of the win-loss column, and they found a way to do that. And to Gerald's point before we hopped on, it should have been 4-1 instead of 3-2 on this road trip. But you kind of take what comes at this point.
Yeah, it wasn't a pretty win, even though it wound up being by double digits and they took care of business. They beat a bad team like they're supposed to. You will take that. You'll take the fact that when Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are healthy and in the lineup together, this team is 20-8 on the season, and that's good for like a 59 win pace, I believe. It hasn't felt like it, and that first half especially, it felt like a game where Brooklyn was gonna, they were 1-5-0, 7-2 run away from making it a game. Luckily, Book turned it on in the second half. He matched what Kevin Durant kind of gave them in that first, and they were able to pull away and come out of the road trip with a 3-2 record. It should have been better. It wasn't. Nobody is going to be convinced by this road trip that the Suns are back. But it's better than a loss to a really bad team. And this was one of those nights where just having Devin Booker and Kevin Durant was enough.
Yeah, Braden says it great in the chat. Says, took care of business. We'll take it. Yep. Speaking of the chat, for everybody in here right now, it's time to set our like goal. Steven, what should the like goal be for a 20-point victory?
150.
150. I like that. Good, solid 150. That's a crazy comment, Sean. That's crazy.
That's rough.
Thank you to all the audio listeners who put up with our shenanigans, and of course the people. Come on, put the picture down. Put the picture.
He
down.
had that on demand.
On demand. That's his wallpaper.
That's
and
crazy.
Of course, everybody joining us on YouTube later, smash that like button because yes, the Suns did win this game, and we are going to talk about Bradley Beal, the Bucks, all the reporting going on out there. That's going to be the end of the show, so make sure you stick around for that. But back to this game. This was one of those games against a terrible team who's missing Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons, D'Angelo Russell, who was resting. Good for him. He definitely needs it. And basically was like, hey, here's a bunch of young guys and G League players. And good teams sometimes get some fits. And Brent Barry at halftime was talking to Amanda Pflugrad and said, shout out Jordy Fernandez, because the game plan that, the Suns prepared for was not for these players, and Jordy does a good job of switching it up and kind of making teams uncomfortable. They came out in the second half, and the third quarter, it was close. They only outscored Brooklyn 28-26, but that fourth quarter outscored them 26-16, and we're just able to put away a lesser team, something that we would have been asking for them throughout this entire season that they didn't do against the Washington. So as ugly as it did get, you're walking away from this with, I wouldn't say like negative feelings. I feel like this was a game that if the Suns were 4 or 5 games above 500, we would just straight up be laughing at.
Yeah. No, we wouldn't be we wouldn't be feeling the way that we feel right now. I'll say that. I think this is a good win in that you took care of business and that you move on to the next one. Your defense bookending the game with 16-point quarters. That's good. Obviously, the Nets missing a ton of shots in that first quarter helped you out there a little bit. But I liked what I saw from Durant and Booker, especially just the way that they've, over this road trip recently, it feels like they've been able to mesh better in terms of not being your turn, my turn, but kind of finding a better flow of when one has it going and then the other one getting it going in the second half. We saw that today. Nick Richards was great on the glass, and they just took care of business against a lesser team. I can't sit here and spin wax positive about this game too much.
Just waxing poetic about a 108-84 win against the Brooklyn Nets.
But you did what you had to.
I mean, and it was the Keon Johnson revenge game. You really withheld the storm.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were all going into tonight saying, what's Keon Johnson going to do against his former squad?
Sure.
And he showed up, right? He showed up and showed out. But there are different elements and parts of this game that we can break down. If we want to save Katie and Book for a little bit later to dive into their performances, let's talk a little bit about Nick Richards.
Okay.
Right? We knew there was going to be a lot of missed shots tonight, but Nick Richards with a season-high 15 rebounds, 11 of those defensive, 4 offensive rebounds, 8 points, plus 15 on the night, was playing physical and only played 22 minutes. So 15 rebounds in 22 minutes, Steven, is exactly what you want out of a center like Nick Richards with this team.
Yeah, that's exactly how he needs to play. Regardless of opponent, they need his motor. They need his physical, imposing kind of presence in the paint. And we saw a lot of that on the boards especially. He played through some foul trouble. That part needs to get cleaned up because they need his minutes. It's a stark difference from the impact when he's on the floor versus them being dictated to when he's off it. And we've seen that through just 3 games. And then the other big thing defensively, he did what we were asking for. Did everything we talked about after the loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Spent a lot more time closer to the screen than he did way back from the screen. And the impact it had on the Nets defense in succession from that was clear as day. And to that point, the Suns had their best defensive rating stamped of the season at just 90.3, which is very, very good, albeit against a Nets team that you expect them to have a good game against defensively. They haven't shown that they can do it in a sustained manner. So extrapolate the opponent and just look at what they're doing and if they're doing it effectively. And we saw that tonight.
Yeah, that was key for me. The defensive rebounding was big because, I think they still got like 20 offensive rebounds. The fact that Nick Richards was able to clean up the glass the way that he did with 15 boards, with 11 of those being defensive, like that's 11 instances where a stop could have turned into a second chance opportunity for Brooklyn. And suddenly, especially in that early portion of the game when it felt like the Suns were leaving the door open a little bit, those are opportunities that the Nets could have capitalized on, but he was able to close out defensive possessions. Like it's never going to be as pretty, rarely going to be as pretty as that debut game where he just put up monster numbers. But if he's able to just hold his own on the glass and take care of possessions, close those out with rebounds, that is a huge improvement over what they've had to deal with at the center spot.
Yeah, and speaking of the defensive rating, in the first and the fourth quarter combined, do you know how many points the Brooklyn Nets scored, Steven? 32. 16 points in the first, 16 points in the fourth. They actually scored 26 in the second and third, so it went 16, 26, 26, 16. But I don't know if you can say that's more Phoenix's defense or the fact that Brooklyn was treading out there, not a lot of really good offensive options. But that doesn't really matter to me right now. You walked into tonight and you're like, okay, we have to get a win. We have to take down this team, and we have to do it in a way that doesn't exert our stars, right? Devin Booker playing 36 minutes tonight was kind of a high minute total from him, but Katie only played 30. Ryan Dunn only played 23. Richards 22. Tyus Jones 26. At the end of a road trip, you achieved what you needed to achieve. You got back above 500. You improved your away record, which is pretty abysmal to this point of the season. You're 9-13 now. and you didn't have to exhaust your superstars doing it. That's a win. That's a win amidst everything else going on right now. I think you easily could have seen a team that was completely out of it and let this game slip away for them or let Brooklyn get momentum, and then we'd be sitting here probably just spiraling out.
Yeah, no, that's a win. The fact that Nick Richards was able to have the impact that he did in only 22 minutes is a win. And being able to keep those starter minutes, except for Devin Booker, he played 36, keeping all those minutes down. That's big across the board. Is it safe to say that Nick Richards is our PHNX factor of the day?
Yeah, I think it would be safe to say if Noah was available to pull up the graphic right now. Unfortunately, I have tasked Noah with about a million different things, and he needs a second, and that's okay.
Okay.
He's our crazy computer boy, and we let that slide. But yes, I think it is safe to say that Nick Richards is our PHNX factor.
X gon' give it to you.
And a spoiler along with it. We really threw him a curveball. I'm not going to spoil it for our audio listeners, but just know on stream, you guys got a little teaser. Espo in the chat says, of course, you guys get the one blowout win. Espo, you can always come on and talk Nets. Espo, taking care of some family business. But yeah, Nick Richards, our PHNX factor. He's fitting quite nice.
He is
fitting quite nice in Phoenix.
He is. 2 out of 3 games have been positive. There was that one rough game in Cleveland, I'm not going to lie. But like Steven said, some of the adjustments defensively, taking care of the glass and finishing around the rim. Like he only got 4 shots, made 3 of them. Hopefully as they get more chemistry and understand where they want each other in pick and rolls, the angle of screens, the timing of his dives to the basket, I think that chemistry will develop better. And I think Richards will, as a result, get more looks around the basket, hopefully.
Yeah, the cleaner their process is, the more looks he'll get because of the attention that their top pieces garner, regardless of, what kind of action, even if it's just a handoff. That's going to get more attention than it did for almost anybody not named LaMelo from the Charlotte Hornets days for him. So should be cleaner touches, cleaner catches, less congested areas he's getting the ball in. And I just like his approach in terms of being physical. You see him getting into it with guys and it having an impact, like literally weighing on them to where they make irrational decisions, sometimes getting technical fouls, sometimes just pulling themselves out of a play. And I feel like that's something, again, that this team just did not have prior to him. So because they do now, the impact is going to hit louder than it usually would on most teams. And I think that's a major positive for them.
Tony in the chat says, we need that dog in him. And Nick Richards is definitely a dog, right?
You can't be a blue-collar boy without being a dog.
And we already dubbed him. It took 1 game for him to be dubbed a blue-collar boy.
Quarter. I think it was 1 shift. And
1 rebound.
I was like, it's there.
The Leo meme pointing at the TV saying, blue-collar boy. Blue-collar boy. I'm excited for him. I think if we're talking centers, let's just touch on Mason Plumlee.
Sure.
Real quick, because
you mean Mason Plum 3.
Mason Plum 3 played some of the most hilarious basketball I've ever seen in my entire life. A 360 turnover followed up by a corner 3 with maybe the ugliest jump shot of all time. Like
lefty.
Do you remember the old commercials like NBA where amazing happens?
Yes. I
feel like we should make a NBA where amazing happens, but it's just Mason Plumlee with shooting threes.
It was amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I needed the laugh, first of all, and second of all, that was a rough sequence. That was a very Shaqtin' a Fool sequence that we got out of Mason Plumlee on those back-to-back possessions. But I didn't feel like he had a terrible game outside of that stretch. Like I think he had 6 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 steals. 3 of 4 shooting. Yeah, he had one. Man, you were like,
yo, look at him.
I know, because normally when he catches the ball in the short roll, it's an immediate 2-handed jumping overhead swing pass to someone on the perimeter to the point that defenses know to expect it now. And he had like that fake handoff running down the lane, and he dunked it. Like, we need a little bit more of that. They've got to put some sort of pressure on the rim. I know it was wide open, but he had some very enjoyable plays tonight, whether they were intentionally funny or unintentionally funny. It was good stuff for Mason.
What'd you take away from Plum Dog?
Outside of that stretch, which was loud.
It was very
so
loud.
I want to make sure you preface with that. I don't know what the process was there. He was good, though. It talked about Nick Richards being effective, being up to touch on the screen and then dropping back, or sometimes making like a 1 or 2 step show and then getting back. Mason Plumlee came in and he was in the exact same coverage, had to spell him because he was in foul trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And he did so effectively. Grabbed a handful of rebounds, made a handful of good passes. They all didn't result in shots made, but his short roll processing outside of that one play especially, it was there. Like, this is what you were hoping for when you signed him. Play a spot 7 or 5 minutes here and there, sometimes break the glass in emergency because of injury or foul trouble, and you can bridge the gap in buy minutes and still be at least neutral, if not win them.
Neither of you look at the box score.
Okay.
How many steals did Mason Plumlee have today?
4.
Oh, 4.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
That one was loud. That one jumped off the page because I do not remember most of them.
4 steals for Mason. That has to be a career high.
He had
it might not be, honestly. He used to be very active.
But 4 steals is a lot of steals. You can be active and get 4 steals in a game. It's different.
To be very active, and he's good with poking the ball away.
I'm about to say a crazy sentence. Are you ready?
Oh,
no.
He tied it.
I tied it, Saint. Imagine this team with prime Mason Plumlee.
He was a crazy sentence.
That is a crazy sentence.
That's the rim rolling above the rim threat you needed earlier in the season. Yeah.
Prime Mason Plumlee and Nick Richards on the same team. I mean, double PHNX factor every night for those two. Let us know who your PHNX factor was. Thanks to everybody in here who agrees and who doesn't agree with us. Thank you for hitting that like button as well. The goal is set. Steven has put it in stone. 150 likes. We're going to get to Big Bright Shining Star. We're going to get to buy the numbers. And of course, we're going to talk about Haynes briefs and if we can really trust what's going on out there on those Twitter streets. Hit that like button. Subscribe to PHNX Sports. Stick with us as we hit our first break. Maybe some movement going on with some Phoenix Suns players around the valley. And if they're looking to sell their homes, well, might I introduce you to the best place to do that? Of course, that is the Carol Royce team. Write down this number right now. If you play for the Suns or if you're a Suns fan or you're just somebody who's looking to sell your home, 480-776-5231. That is Carol Royce's number. And of course, she has been serving the Valley of the Sun through 3 generations of family members, and it's been family owned and locally operated the entire time. The same way that you know the back of your hand, Carol knows your house, the housing market, and she will do what nobody else will do, and that is give you a guarantee. You can rest easy knowing you're not just making the right choice, you're making the guaranteed one. Your home sold for 100% of the market value, or Carol's just going to pay you the difference. If you're considering selling your home in 2025, the name to trust is Carol Royce, your home sold guaranteed realty. Have questions? Call today or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com. And I'd like to welcome a new friend, Spinato's Pizzeria.
Let's go.
Look at that.
So excited for this.
So excited. Gerald, what do you love the most about Spinato's?
I love their sauce. It's
what about the sauce?
It's like sweeter than the normal pizza sauce. They have fantastic pizza there. It's been one of my favorites. Amy and I, when we got married, we had our rehearsal lunch there at Spinato's. It fit a bunch of people that we had coming in from out of town. Everybody loved the pizza. Their pasta is underrated. They've got good salads. It's just an all-around great establishment with lots of great options.
This guy doesn't even have an ad read in front of him. He just wins.
It's just authentic.
That's just how good Spinato's is. But how about this? They're also the best place for Suns fans. They're hosting official watch parties throughout the season where you can watch the game with Phoenix Suns dancers in the Gorilla, and you can stop by for your chance to win free Suns tickets, gift certificates, and more exciting prizes, including free pizza for a year. Get all the info on the watch parties and pizza basketball contests at SpinatosPizzeria.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. Now I'm hungry.
I'm starving.
I want to know what's in the box. I want Spinato's. Have you ever had Spinato's?
Oh, we're
I
gonna
haven't
have
been
to.
here long enough.
Okay, we're gonna have. We have to check off that and a couple other places that we've talked about that Max will kill me if I start saying.
Yeah,
giving out
Strikeout says Gerald gets the mystery sauce.
I don't know what that means.
Do we want to know what that means?
That's wild.
Pause.
And look at that, we have 69 likes. Wow, what a coincidence! All right,
crazy.
let's get back on track for the Phoenix Suns 108-84 victory. Let's take a look at what's in the box. Presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Arizona's #1 credit union, named by Forbes.
What's in the box?
What's in the box is a 108-84 win over the Brooklyn Nets. The Suns somehow took less shots than their opponent. That keeps happening, but they were able to eke out the win because they shot 10% better than their opponent from the field. They also got up 41 threes, which is something we have not seen them do in what feels like forever. They only made 34% of those, but That's what happens when you get up a good enough volume. The Nets shot 7 for 36, which is less than 20% from three. Obviously not good. Ball was moving well. Obviously, it's against a Nets defense that's not very good, but 27-16 advantage in the assist column. They only committed 11 turnovers, and as we know, when they keep it in that range, that 10 to 13 sweet spot, they're usually in good shape. It was 15-0 in fast break points.
I was like, is that a typo? Steven, have you ever seen a team not get a single fast break point the entire game?
I can't say I have.
You watch a lot of basketball.
I do, and that is across any level of basketball. That's insane.
You would think they would get like one, especially with 11 turnovers, like one of them would be the type of pick six we normally see.
You would think with the lack of shooting they had at their disposal today that they would be looking to push it and score in transition as much as they possibly could.
Mm-hmm. But I guess not.
I've never seen 0 transition points.
Yeah.
That's is the Brooklyn Nets season right there.
That's a first for me.
0 transition points, 11 turnovers.
Someone rescue my guy Cam Johnson, please.
Hey, I think a couple teams are trying.
Yeah, they are.
If not, he's getting the bag.
What was the number of threes that Brooklyn made? 7?
7 for 36.
That's a season low or a season high for the Suns. However you want to put it. That's
Season
the
best.
least amount of threes that they've allowed their opponents to make in a game this season.
We love that.
So, talked about point of emphasis for them defending in pick and roll. We talked about already Mason Plumlee and Nick Richards both being a lot closer to the level of the screen and helping to flatten things out. In tandem with that, they were really good with their closeouts and just generally leaving people who you allow to shoot threes. They were playing to the game plan defensively, and again, that's a step in the right direction for them.
Steven, I'm just wondering, because I think a lot of people are going to chalk this up to bad team. Suns played a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to walk away taking away like positives for how could this team perform against the better competition?
I mean, yeah, it shows you that you can do what the coaches, I'm sure, are asking you to do in a sustained manner when you put it together just quarter by quarter. And yes, it wasn't pretty from start to finish, but the energy felt like it was there defensively. Offensively, it was not the prettiest. I think we all would agree with that. But defensively, they were just where they needed to be, and they were on schedule, making good rotations in a sharp manner. And they stayed out of rotation as much as they possibly could in tandem with that. So just generally speaking, it felt like they were where they needed to be more often than not. And they also, like you said in the opening, Eric, close possessions with rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a good defensive team without stopping the opponents first, but also grabbing rebounds. And it felt like they did both of those things in succession.
Yeah, it's something, again, like we've been saying for the last couple weeks now, where the Suns have been stringing together wins over pretty inferior competition. Like, it's not going to convince us that this team is back or that they are suddenly competing with teams like the Cavs or the Thunder or the Celtics. It's something that you hope that they're able to use to build momentum a little bit. And we saw the Cleveland test. They clearly have not gotten to that stage. So I'm personally not taking a lot out of this game in terms of their execution. You hope that it's something that they can continue to build their faith back up, build their trust in each other if they can string together some wins. Yep. But they know the level of competition they're facing, and they know that in order for that trust to be built, that execution to hold up against better teams that are going to really put it to the test, those wins have to start coming against better opponents.
Yeah, they know who they're playing, which is also a reason why you have to walk away saying, hey, they blew them out.
Yeah.
Right? Because they knew who they were playing when they took on the Wizards a couple games ago, and they were up, and then the Wizards stormed back, and now you're taking on that same team on Saturday. Yeah. This is not a team that you can say, oh, well, it's just, it's wins against a bad team. A win is a win with this team, and stacking them is awesome in any sort of momentum, especially if you're still going to be without Bradley Beal as well, whether it's ankle or if he gets traded or whatever it is. You need to learn how to win without him. Yeah. And I think they've done a decent job of it, but you have to take care of these teams that are worse and you learn some things from it. And then when you face the Clippers of the world, then when you face the Timberwolves of the world, you can say, all right, what did we learn? What can we build upon? Oh, I really liked how we used Nick Richards in a different drop scheme like Steven has been bringing up on the podcast. And we saw that translate to some success against Brooklyn. Let's see how that works against, actual legitimate NBA level talent that is contributing right now, not 3 to 4 years from now, right? Like, these are the type of games that, sure, they're sloppy, But within the sloppiness, within the slop in general, you can find a couple plays and a couple moments as a coaching staff to go back on and to find things to build on. And that's what this team needs, is to build on the basics over halfway through the season.
And to stack wins, because we're at the point where they're one game over 500, more than halfway through the season. But you look at the standings, like they are only 2.5 games out of the 5 seed, out of being out of play-in territory altogether. But they're also only 2 games away from falling to 12th in the West. So like it is stacked 5 through 12 there. A couple of games here and there could decide your future. So even if these wins aren't exactly inspiring that they're getting right now, a win is a win, and you need it to climb up these standings and get out of this play-in shuffle that we're seeing. Like Dallas has been on the downturn with all the injuries they've had. Minnesota's been uninspiring all season. Sacramento recently turned it on, but they're still barely above 500. You have a chance if you can just get your collective crap together to climb up out of the muck a little bit.
Was there anything from tonight, Gerald, kind of the same question that I asked Steven, that you can walk away saying maybe that is the something that Phoenix can build on going up against Washington?
I mean, they can build on the fact that they beat a bad opponent and are facing another one. I'm sure I know that there are things that they can definitely build on. Like Devin Booker has been getting back on track since the start of January, basically. That's a good sign. Like I said earlier in the show, I feel like they are having better synergy with each other in terms of picking and choosing their spots and it not feeling so truncated, your turn, my turn type stuff. Like I said, Nick Richards playing well and holding down the defensive glass as he continues to build his chemistry there. There's lots of little things that you can build on, but again, I need to see them maintain the level of execution and maintain some of those positive things against better competition before I'm going to say, okay, this is for real.
Let's put a poll in the chat. Noah, I'm going to give you free reign with the options, but the question is, how do you feel about tonight's blowout win against the Brooklyn Nets? Because I do feel like a lot of people could take away different things. Anything else from this game before we get to big, bright, shining stars? We see the Kevin Durant and Devin Booker arguments in the chat. We're not going to indulge in pitting them against each other, but we will get to talking about both of them. But before we get to those top two some more, is there anything else that we want to touch on this game?
I mean, for me, it's Ryan Dunn. He just continues to get the job done, no pun intended, since he became a starter. Filling in the gaps, rebounding at times, offensive rebounding with intent. If teams are leaving him or just not putting a body on him, he's going to the glass with intent to either tap it out or outright grab the offensive rebound, giving his team extra possessions. Talking about marginal efforts, that's very much one of them. It feels like he's been given the green light to do so, but pick his spots in doing that. And I feel like his discernment in when he does versus when he doesn't has been good and has been effective. And then the other thing with Ryan, and it's him screening. We talked about that being an important piece for him as he gets more minutes before he even got to starting. And then obviously when he got to starting, it took on a different role. He's doing it with a slight more uptick in terms of his volume, to the point where now they're going to it as a primary piece to start an action at times versus it being something to fill the gaps after an action is stopped or doesn't work or whatever. And he's finishing going downhill below the free throw line. Talked about it in Steven's study 2 weeks ago, but the floaters.
Love it.
And just generally finishing below the free throw line again. He's getting the job done. But also, I think there's going to be a point where I think me and Gerald were talking about it in Nick Richards' first game. Action breaks down. Ryan Dunn goes into that screen under, stay under, gets it on the short roll. He has a floater option, but because Nick Richards is occupying the opposite dunker spot, there's a lob option there more often than not. I think Ryan is going to get to the point where he's going to start throwing that lob. It might just take practice reps, which they just haven't had yet. These 2 days off hopefully present that. But I think that's an interaction dynamic to watch out for over the next handful of games.
Very excited about Ryan Dunn adding small things to his offensive game because with his defensive impact, those little things like a floater, like I don't even mean to like over exaggerate. I just do it anyway. But those little types of moves for a player like Ryan Dunn, the quick pick, slip, and hit a floater, right, from a couple feet out, to be able to do that consistently, to hit some threes, even though he didn't tonight, that can turn a 4, 5, 6 year career in the NBA to a 7, 8, 9, 10 year career. in the NBA. And to see him continue to build upon that is extremely encouraging for what about an entire offseason worth of work? What about an entire rookie contract worth of work?
Yeah.
You don't know what his offensive game could end up looking like. I'm never going to expect him to turn into Book or Kawhi or KD. But if he can be somebody who averages 10 to 15 at the high end points per game on a team, I mean, you're talking about somebody who will be a longtime member of the National Basketball Association.
Yeah, and within the context of this team, his opportunities are going to be sparing. They're going to be spot up looks in the corner on the wing extended, or they're going to be in those screen and roll actions where he has to make a quick decision in terms of, do I have the floater? Do I have the drive? Do I have the kick out? And now that he has an above the rim lob threat waiting for him in the dunker spot, do I hit Nick Richards? He had another one of those floaters tonight, like you mentioned, Steven, where he had the choice between the floater or lobbing it to Nick Richards. Richards was a little close to the basket. He made the floater. We'll take the 2 points. Yep. But it's good to see him getting those reps now, because he still has a long way to go to align himself on like the Mikal Bridges trajectory, where he entered the league 3-and-D guy, and then he started adding the midi to his game, and he started adding the ability to get to his pull-up spots to his game. Ryan Dunn has a long way to go to get there, but if he is able to capitalize on these opportunities that he gets within the context of this team, that could eventually segue into more opportunities to score and bigger chances for him to expand his game down the line.
More on this win, Suns and Nets. We're going to talk about the bench via request from the chat. We're going to give out big, bright, shining star. We'll get to our bets. And, of course, we're going to get to hashtag Haynes Briefs all after another break. Somebody in the chat, Michael, said these dudes are smoking Colt. Well, by these dudes, you mean this dude. You are correct. Because Colt Cannabis is, of course, the best premium flower that you can get in the Valley. But the word was on my mind, Gerald. Value. Because it's the best value for premium flower in the Valley. Say that 10 times fast. You can't, especially if you're on that premium flower over at Colt Cannabis, including a True Leaf exclusive strain, the Magic Marker. Gerald's been asking for her. Doesn't smoke her, but has been asking for the Magic Marker to give to me as a gift, and I've been very appreciative for it. You can find Colt Cannabis at any True Leaf location around the Valley, and of course, you don't have to spend that premium buck to get that premium flower. They just opened up a new True Leaf location in Maricopa earlier this month. You can head over to trueleaf.com, find your local shop, place an order, and make sure you insist. You stare them in the eyes and you say, I need you to know PHNX sent me. And they'll probably kick you out, but at least you'll have some good weed with you. Big shout out to Desert Financial Credit Union, has been taking care of me and my family for generations, literally. My grandparents, my parents, and then me. I'm stumbling and I'm getting choked up about it because they've been around for over 84 years. And if you're an Arizona sports fan, which I would consider myself, there is no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. They have a team of financial experts who are committed to their members and finding solutions that work for you, whether life is starting simple, a job in high school, needed checkings and a savings account, but then you grow up, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Desert Financial Credit Union is here to hold your hand along the way. And guess what? They're going to slide a little money into your palm when they're holding your hand as well. That's right. You can get $200 for free. What? All you got to do, hear me out. All you got to do, open a free checking account online, get $200 in bonuses, and you just got to get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. Thon says, snitching on Gerald, classic Ruby. Is that my,
Are you a snitch?
I did tell the world that Steven had to use the bathroom one episode.
Oh, wow.
Snitch. If I'm a snitch, at least I'm a handsome snitch, according to my wife. So that's all that matters.
She has this.
My wife.
Not the Borat voice. not in the year 2025.
Not in the year 2025. Okay, before we get to Big Bright Shining Star, Sandman in the chat was wondering if we could talk about the bench, because there was 30 bench points tonight, evenly spread out as well. Not from like your usual suspects, right? Royce O'Neal, only 3 points on the night, but a plus 19. Mason Plumlee had 6. Bull had 1. Monte Morris had 7. Damian Lee had 3. Grayson Allen at 8. Colin Gillespie had 2. How do we feel about the Suns hashtag bench mob tonight?
I felt like it was fine. Obviously it was spread out very evenly. Nobody scored more than 8 off the bench. So you like balanced production. I do think a fair portion of it came in garbage time, obviously. But I did like that Grayson Allen was able to come in and have 8 quick points. I think he had those like in the first quarter and the first half. So that was positive. Monte Morris was able to make a couple of shots in that second half to help keep Brooklyn at bay. And like we already talked about Mason Plumlee. I think we've spent more time talking about Mason Plumlee today than we have in like 2 weeks. So, it was good. I would like to see Royce O'Neal kind of break out of his funk.
Man.
He was 1 for 9 tonight, 1 for 7 from 3. He threw in his patented classic what was that turnover that Royce gets every now and then. But Steven, what have you seen from Royce O'Neal? Because we've talked about this multiple times. I've had a Royce O'Neal column on deck
It's your
since
fault.
like November.
It's been like 10 weeks.
It's never going to see the light of day, but it was praising all the things that he does that fly under the radar, and he's kind of struggled over the last handful of games.
He has. It hasn't. I don't feel like it's been him struggling to the extent of hurting the team, which is the space you want him to be in. Obviously, you want him to put the ball in the basket because a majority of the looks he's getting are going to be wide open or mildly contested at most. So he has to fix the conversion rate because of that. But defensively, I feel like he's been solid. He's still bringing the physicality. He's still bringing the switchability, the versatility. He's bringing those things. So I think it's just a matter of time before the ebbs and flows of the Royce roller coaster kind of realign with the positive versus the desiring to see more, which he's been kind of showing the last handful of games. But I think the other thing with the bench unit, Monte and Grayson are just playing well, especially off of Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And they're just problem solving, understanding the situation, what to do to make the most out of him getting double teamed in the different ways in which he does. And they're executing within it as well, playing off of each other. They're starting to establish a little bit of synergy. I don't know what the lifespan of it will be because Monte's minutes are so kind of in flux on the game-to-game basis.
Yeah.
But I feel comfortable when those two are on the court with Kevin Durant and a wing and a center. And I think in tonight's game, it was iterations of Nick Richards and Ryan Dunn and some of those lineups. So I feel comfortable with those if they're bridging the gap while only one of the 3 best players is on the court.
And that's going to be really important if you do end up making a trade, of course, assuming that Grayson is not one of the players going out. Those are 2 pieces that are going to fit in, whether you're getting Jimmy Butler or you're trading for somebody else and a name that we haven't even heard about yet. Having a shooter like Grayson Allen and a steady guard like Monte Morris to be able to bring in off the bench is something that a team in the playoffs, a team trying to contend in the regular season needs. And the Phoenix Suns do have that. So as we said before the season starts, it feels like they have pieces for it. If Royce O'Neal doesn't go 1 of 9 in tandem with that as well, that's a pretty good 3-man unit coming off the bench who can just give you solid, consistent minutes. So it's exciting to see, especially Grayson round into form when it comes to shooting percentage compared to the beginning of the season. But I think that's good to put a bow on the bench talk.
Yeah.
Let's get to our big, bright, shining star presented by Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for details.
I am a big, bright, shining star.
It is Devin Booker, who did drop 32 points tonight, led the team in scoring and minutes played, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 rebounds, 14 of 24 from the field, 3 of 8 from 3. We will talk about Kevin Durant, who had a great game in his own right, but we talked about it before the show. We thought Book was the star. Steven, what was your reasoning for giving him the most prestigious honor in all of sports tonight?
I think he's finding the pockets over the course of games where he's scoring in the ways in which are comfortable for him. And I think it's more him finding these kind of gaps within the game where he's timing up, running back in transition, but like a secondary transition, not a full-out fast break, where he's slowing down. And by him slowing down in the natural flow of teams transitioning from one side to the other, he kind of gets lost in the weeds. And then he's able to all of a sudden spring open and have a pocket to go and score as the defense reacts to everybody else that's spaced. He's finding these little pockets like that in addition to him finding the leak ahead opportunities where he's getting it early in the offense before the defense is set, and he's able to go one-on-one real quick, make a quick catch, quick decision. Usually it's either a quick pull-up or him getting to the basket. He's finding those kind of, like I said, pocket spaces within the game and the Suns' flow offensively. And I feel like those really help to bridge the gap for him to then find a rhythm. And now he's knocking down the contested middies. And he's playing with a rhythm that he clearly didn't have in the first half of the game. I think those little things in terms of those field moments for him are so important because those are where he really kind of separates himself from other players who only score off of solely contested shots and things like that.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it helps explain why he had 9 points on 4 of 11 shooting in the first half as opposed to 23 points on, I think, 10 of 13 in the second half. That's a big difference, and we should be honest. Like, Devin Booker is the type of scorer who a lot of times his scoring will come in bursts, like especially the first quarter. We know he's a first quarter assassin, and on the nights where he does sustain it through a full 4 quarters, those are when he has those 40-point, 50-point detonations. So tonight it was a great second half from him. It felt like he woke up in that second half kind of feeling out the game and realizing, okay, if I turn it on here, if we can extend this lead, we can put this game away. And that was welcome because it wound up leading to Kevin Durant being able to rest the entire fourth quarter, which is something that they should be trying to do more often, especially with him being 36.
It feels like the first time this season.
They rested in the blowout win against the Lakers when Beal, Booker, and Durant came back for one game.
Early in the
November
season,
26th.
feels like it was the preseason.
You know, it's crazy. The state of the season, Gerald has that date memorized.
It was the last time I felt joy.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
I would hope not, Gerald.
No, I'm kidding,
but there is a lot of talk, and I'm not even doing this in a KD versus Book sense because I'm not entertaining that. But there is like the stat padding talk of, the Suns didn't need Book to score 32. Is that something you guys agree with? Did Book just score when it wasn't needed and KD helped put him up?
If people in this fan base are talking about Devin Booker stat padding in a 20-plus point win where he only played 36 minutes, I don't think you're a fan of the Suns. I think you're a fan of a specific player, and I think you're pushing a certain agenda, which again, we don't need to do. Like, they're on the same team. When Devin Booker succeeds, Kevin Durant succeeds. When Kevin Durant succeeds, Devin Booker succeeds. These are two amazing superstars, and like I said a couple weeks ago, we don't have to do this where we continually pit agendas against each other. I don't think this was a stat padding, and even if it was, who cares? Like, why does it matter?
They needed a blowout win.
They got a 24-point win, and KD didn't have to come back in. That's a win for everybody. What are we doing here?
Yeah, that's the thing. KD did not have to come back in the game. A large reason why he did not have to come back in the game after he exited late in the third quarter was because Devin Booker got it going scoring to push the lead to an extent that Bud was comfortable not having to put his oldest player back in the game. Like, that is important. Like, would you rather KD have to come in and push whatever it was that he finished the game with in terms of scoring to greater lengths and obviously expose himself to more risk in the game against the lessest of the less in terms of the Nets roster construct for this game? Like, that's what you want. You want him to rest as much as possible. And obviously doing that with Devin Booker scoring the way that he was tonight, that's probably the easiest way for those things to happen without them just outright blowing the team out by halftime and then sustaining that through the second half.
Well, right. Let's just say Devin Booker doesn't quote unquote stat pad, which, by the way, it wasn't like he was playing till the final buzzer too, right? He wasn't just hooping when they were up 20. Say Book puts up 20 tonight, right? Doesn't play a lot of minutes. The Suns are talking about a close win against the Nets where we walk away. We're like, what's wrong with the Suns? Another loss like this. Even if it was technically to make it a blowout or to continue a blowout, that's exactly what this team needed. They needed Kevin Durant to rest, and they needed Brooklyn to get blown out, and they needed no questions about it. And Devin Booker in the second half put them there. KD in the first half had a great game. And we could talk about Kevin Durant now because he was the one who set the tone. He was the best player in this game in the first half, and he set it up to where, okay, there's a lead. Suns are leading. Devin comes in, picks it up in the second half. Now it's a blowout. KD can rest. He still had a good game. 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, 8 of 15 from the field, 4-7 from 3.
Yeah.
Just casual greatness.
And until the fourth quarter, he was, we were going to make him the big, bright, shining star. And it just wound up being that they didn't need KD in the fourth quarter. And so Book got to 32, and that's how that happened. Like, KD was fantastic. And like I was saying, like, they seem like they're finding that right balance between each other going off. So yeah, this was good. And like, for the people saying stat padding, he's subbed out at the 4.5 minute mark, and they were up 24 at that point. He scored a certain number of points in the fourth. It was a good portion of his 32, but we have seen this team with double-digit leads against inferior competition let their opponent come roaring back because the team goes cold So if Devin Booker's on the court and Kevin Durant is resting and there's no Bradley Beal, you want Devin Booker taking shots. You want him scoring. You want him keeping your opponent at bay, keeping them down where they have no chance of mounting a comeback. And so that's what he did tonight. And Bud subbed him out when he subbed him out. 4.5 minutes left. That sounds about right for a blowout win when you take out your star players.
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason to having such a nuanced conversation about something so simple.
Yeah.
You want your two best players to be playing extremely well. If one of them has to play better than the other in certain pockets to help make the team better, that's what a literal team is. Like, what are we talking about right now?
Girth Jr. with a great question in the chat says, Eric, what's the like goal? 150. We're 40 away. We could smash that. We could so smash that. Over 400 of you in here right now. We can absolutely get to 150 likes. Before we hit a break, I just want to put a bow on the Book and KD thing. Gerald, you put out a very informative tweet earlier tonight. Kind of crazy to realize a win tonight moves the Suns to 20-8 this season. That's a 59 win pace when Book and KD are both playing. And Flex from Jersey quote tweeted that, added 8-0 when KD and Book are playing without Bradley Beal. So there is some sort of winning formula there.
Yeah.
And it's nice when both of your stars are good. Even if one is scoring points when it's a blowout. We're going to take it. We have the results for the poll. We have your super chats, and we have hashtag Haynes Briefs coming up after a hashtag brief break. Spoiler alert, I hit my bet, the other two didn't. You're going to have to wait just to see exactly what my bet was. But that's why I love using Bet365, because I feel like I've become one with Bet365, because the app is so easy to use. It's why it has over 90 million users worldwide. And right now, if you open up an account over at Bet365, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. And if you trailed me this season, you would be slightly in the positive. And let me tell you, it feels good to be slightly in the positive after the deep depths that I made it to. But it really is the best place to do your sports betting. New customers will now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. Sign up, use code PHNX365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, ESPO, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. And I love a good deal. Who doesn't love a good deal? And I love live events. I mean, we all love sports up here, but I think a lot of us up here almost equally love live music. I know both of you have been going to some concerts recently. I'm fiending to get back in the building for a concert, so I got to hit up our friends over at Game Time, because they filter out the fluff with Game Time picks. They present you the best seat. You get a view from your seat. You can click a little switch and just say, hey, all these other websites that try to hit you without $1 million in hidden fees, well, Game Time doesn't do that. They also tell you, hey, any fees you are going to have to pay for, click that all-inclusive pricing. You know exactly what you are going to pay for when you check out. That's what you got to love over at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download that app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Tony, Bees, another Tony, Jeaner, Lonnie, Espo, also known as Greg Esposito in the chat, Joe, Strikeout, Jonas, Wow Factor, Bees, Rick, Anye, King Louie, Sean, Ken. Thank you, everybody who's still rocking with us here on a Wednesday night. Thank you guys for getting us closer to that like goal. We do have a couple super chats. I'm not reading one of them. I'm just saying it. But
see, clearly you're man.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
man.
I'm so sorry to hear this from Art and B. Art and B dropped 2199 super chats saying that their house just burned down in the LA fires. Go Suns, though. We're so sorry to hear that, Art. And our thoughts are with you. We hope everything works out for you and your family. Hopefully, you are safe if you're dropping super chats. I would assume so, and that's just awful. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we're sorry to hear that again. Like we said the other day, thanks for making time to watch us talk about a little basketball game.
Yeah.
And you got some more important things going on. We appreciate that. And prayers to your family and all your loved ones.
Absolutely, man. Stay safe out there. Take care of your loved ones. And thank you for being here with us. It means a lot.
Yeah, and hopefully we can give you just a little breath of fresh air. I'm sorry, but even if you want me to, Art, and I'm not reading Be Calm, See Clearly's super chat. If Espo wants to record a voice message and send it in, we could play that. I ain't reading it. I will read this one from Jim, a $1.99 super chat. Thank you, Jim, who, might I remind you, Jim has said his real identity is a nice, clean-cut married man, but this is Jim's super chat. The Suns blew out a team. I'm changing my undies.
He did tell us in the past he was not going to do that until the Suns blew out a team. So we made it. We did it.
We did.
We did it for you, Jim.
What's our sponsor? The
Mando?
Mando.
Jim needs Mando.
Jim needs Mando for weeks or months like this, the way the season's been set up.
That's awesome.
Sean with another crazy comment in the chat. I'm not reading it. We do have a poll about this game as we put a bow on it before we get into hashtag Haynes briefs about Bradley Beal. How do you feel about this blowout win against the Nets? Here are the options that Noah picked for the poll. The top option is rizzed up.
You gotta stop giving him options.
The second one is lit. Third one is mid. And fourth is dead.
Okay, but
now,
it's lit with 2 T's.
Lit with 2
Did we
T's.
see that?
Yeah, here's the thing, though. I gave him options on a poll before, and he just changed them.
Okay.
So it's just, it's like giving the kid like the controller that's not plugged in.
Yeah.
It's like making him feel like they're responsible for
you
something.
did call him Crazy Computer Boy.
That is
so he's
true.
living up to his title.
Yeah, this is super crazy computer boy. Are you guys rizzed up, lit, mid, or dead about the Suns' blowout win against the Brooklyn Nets?
My feeling for the game is mid. I'm not going to say I'm mid because that's going to get
Oh,
clipped,
that would have been a great clip.
It would have been. Shh. Shh. That's going to be very short clipping if that becomes a clip. But yeah, I'm in that category after this one.
Are you dead, mid, lit, or rizzed up, Steven?
This is the analysis you knew you'd be getting paid for one day, right?
For sure. This is what I always look forward to. Mid. It's very mid.
Okay. I'm also feeling mid about the win, but I really wish I could have said I felt rizzed up. 46% said they're feeling mid. 32% say lit. 16% say rizzed up. 5% say dead. We have Car in the chat asking what rizzed means. Either of you care to explain?
That is Noah. Hop on the mic and explain what.
On your
riz
actual
means.
mic.
Livy Dunn. Gotta
right.
riz up Livy Dunn.
Oh, this was a terrible start.
Yeah, we can't give
skibbity.
him a live mic anymore.
This is
We
what
can't-
happens when
We
we
can't
give
give him. We can't do this.
too much freedom.
We can't do this. Why are we doing this?
Ohio.
Oh man.
You try to include everybody.
Yeah.
Like you make great effort,
Yep.
and the intent is genuine,
Yep.
and then.
That's
All
tough.
right.
That's tough.
Let's get away from that and let's take away a mic from Noah. Let's take a look at our bets because your boy won. Let's see those beautiful standings, Noah. Who's in the lead?
Oh, wow.
Who's in the lead?
We have a change of pace.
It's so funny. I've been in the lead for half a second. I've already talked way more smack than Steven had with a multiple $100 lead.
And somehow way less smack than Espo has talked in dead last place.
No, I think Espo's talked about the same amount of smack. Oh, Steven is talking
Both
about
of you
smack.
have
Yeah.
talked less smack than
Yeah,
Espo.
Espo all the way down there at a negative $233.47. In second place, God, that feels good to say. Steven at $24.92
Mhm.
and in a roaring, inspiring,
Mhm.
jaw-dropping first place, your boy, Eric Ruby with $49 because I hit a bet tonight. Now, what bet, you ask? As the crowd goes wild,
Not the flush.
I hear them chanting my name. What bet, Eric? What a bet. Keon Johnson. Show him the bet, Noah.
Oh,
Gotta
boy.
show him the bet because Keon Johnson had the game of his life. I needed him to get 23.5 PRA, and boy, did he deliver. I also needed Devin Booker 2.5 3-pointers made, Kevin Durant 1.5 3-pointers made, and Nick Richards over 9.5 rebounds. Espo says, I let my cat make the bet. Well, if I did, my cat's still better at betting than you, Buster. Plus 1,000 on the night. I won 100. Eric says I'm representing for Eric's in the chat. Let's go.
Hit him with a buster.
Feels good. Anybody else want to shower praise on me for my bet?
Good job.
I didn't shower praise on myself.
So you can shower it on me?
I'm definitely not giving you that. What you mean?
Why not?
What you mean?
Why not? Yeah, Jim does need to shower.
Unreal.
I was in last by like $200, so this is actually a pretty
It's-
big deal.
It is impressive.
And Gerald was hating on me the entire game.
I 100% was. He
Just-
was so. I've never seen a person more invested. Keon Johnson's mother was not as invested in this game as Eric Ruby was watching Keon Johnson rack up points in garbage time. It was fantastic to watch. And to
That's a
hate
crazy
watch.
comment, Durantula. Espo says my grandfather's name was Buster, so I'm honored. I'm glad you're honored to be in last place, Espo. Anyway,
Was it really
let's take a breath.
Buster
Talking to my-
Esposito?
Talking to my Buster Esposito is a great name.
It's a cool name.
Let's take a breath and let's transfer over to some hashtag Haynes briefs. Chris Haynes kind of dropped a bomb in the middle of this game. Pun
You
intended.
can't say dropped a bomb in reference to Haynes briefs.
It got messy on the timeline. And Chris Haynes said that there is no connection. The connection between Bradley Beal and the Bucks is non-existent. And that puts Gerald a massive road bump in the way to the Suns getting a 3-team deal to land Jimmy Butler.
It definitely does. And if you have been watching our last couple of shows, I've said this out loud. I don't know why the Bucks would be interested in Bradley Beal. It never made sense to me because as a team that's above the second tax apron, in order to trade enough pieces to take on Beal's $50.2 million salary, they'd have to give up around $57, $56, $58 million in outgoing contracts, which means you're losing Chris Middleton. You're losing Bobby Portis. You're losing Pat Connaughton. You're having to give up like 3 players just to bring Beal on, who is not the most natural fit. So that it never made sense to me. If this is true, that tracks more with what's going on in my head. Of course, it could just be posturing at this time of year where Milwaukee is leaking stuff in order to get more assets out of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
We see a lot of structuring, posturing, public reports like this happen. But if Milwaukee's genuinely not interested in Bradley Beal, one of the few destinations where maybe Beal would be willing to waive his no trade clause for, reportedly, this is going to be hard for the Suns to figure out where Bradley Beal goes that actually makes sense. A team would want him and Bradley Beal would want to go. That's tough because we've talked about all kinds of different destinations. Either Beal wouldn't want to go there or that team, it wouldn't make sense for them. I still say Orlando is my sneaky favorite. That would actually make sense as a landing spot for Beal, but I don't know if that's even realistic. There's been no report that they want him. So if the Bucks are out, this just got a whole lot harder.
It's definitely a speed bump in everything that it feels like the Suns have been working towards over the last 24 to 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that it completely means that there's just no chance that it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, it's not what we anticipated hearing in terms of expecting to hear, okay, Bill will open up his no trade clause to go to X, Y, and Z teams.
Mm-hmm.
This was not on the bingo card as the momentum is kind of built up over the last handful of days. But I think at some point it's going to shake in their favor. Just might not come around the way we kind of anticipated with Milwaukee being a player in terms of helping facilitate that trade.
Yeah, and I don't want to poo-poo on Chris Haynes, hashtag Haynes briefs, but they're okay.
Come on, man.
He has had some instances in the past, specifically relating to the Phoenix Suns, where he has reported the wrong information. And I'm not saying that's what's happening right now because you did have Gambo go out on the timeline and basically say, haven't heard that much about Milwaukee being interested or not, and saying that, there is a chance that worst case scenario, the Suns do get stuck with Beal and they would have those picks that they traded for to fill out the roster sooner rather than later. This is a lot of posturing. It's subterfuge season, right? You're trying to get your way and you're trying to get it now. And maybe the Milwaukee Bucks aren't interested. Maybe it's the Chicago Bulls, right, who are trying to move salary and shift some things around. Maybe it's another team that we haven't even talked about yet. Maybe it's a team that we have, like the Orlando Magic, right? This doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it did feel like we hit this momentum where it was like, this Butler trade's happening tonight. It's happening on our day off tomorrow. Like, it's happening. And this was a really big, let's pump the brakes here and reevaluate. And maybe Suns fans need to sit back and be like, there's a world where Bradley Beal's on this team and Jimmy Butler is not.
Yeah, I mean, today's reporting was very much a pumping the brakes, not just from Chris Haynes, but from Mark Stein saying that the move that the Suns made last night was not necessarily because they have another one lined up. And Dwayne Rankin today reported that Mark Bartelstein, Bradley Beal's agent, came out and said, like, that stuff's not true about us waiving the no trade clause. We'd be open to it depending on the location, but it's not a for sure thing.
Yeah, and if you are watching on TV, we appreciate you so much for joining us. Just remember, the party always continues over at gophnx.com. And if you're watching this at our live show later, on our YouTube channel later as well, I want to encourage you to hit that like button. If you're live with us right now, we're still looking to get 150 likes. We're 9 likes away. If you are watching this after the fact, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe over to PHNX Sports as well. Steven, we're kind of getting to this point where I think Suns fans just kind of have to accept we don't know what's going to happen at all.
We don't. Like we talked about on the podcast yesterday, you have to also accept the fact that these teams have avenues to making things happen that we, the general public, media or not, just aren't privy to. Like they have a more accurate database in which they're pulling numbers and data and crunching numbers from that we just don't have. So things that look fine on paper to them, to which they then present to the league to stamp approval for or deny, we just don't know. So there's genuine ambiguity with everything that's going on in this situation. Only thing that's sure is that we know Jimmy Butler wants to be a Phoenix Sun.
Yeah. I mean, pretty heavily considering the fact that he had on the shoes the other day. And we also know for sure, Gerald, that the Suns are all in on being all in. They're not thinking about 2031. No. They're not thinking about any of that. In fact, you did some digging to confirm that.
I did. And a lot of people are stressing over moving that 2031 pick because of how potentially valuable it is. Because I've seen the meme of a slice of pizza cut up into 3, and it was like the Suns trying to get people to take their first rounders now. I get it. The jokes are funny. But at the same time, like, no one should be surprised at how all in this team is, because they literally told us this at exit interviews less than 9 months ago when we spoke with Matt Ishbia and James Jones. Here's what they had to say.
And like I said, if fans like to look in the future and say, hey, I really like that 2031 draft pick because maybe that 7th grader is going to be really good and we're going to draft him and one day he's going to be a player. Like, you ain't going to like the Phoenix Suns because we're going to say draft picks are to get great players.
I said it before. I'm not thinking about the 7th grader in 2031. We're talking about elite players who want to win, saying, how can we win today? How can we win tomorrow? How can we win the next 12 months? Devin's not thinking about 2031. Kevin's not thinking about 2031.
Shouts to that 7th grader that's just getting absolutely dumped on.
All this James
Jones.
All this James.
You think they have somebody in mind?
They're researching these middle schools.
There is a highlight video out there from Cam Potts.
Cam Potts.
Next up in the class of 2031.
Okay.
So they don't care about no Cam Potts.
They passed on that demon.
Yeah.
Tony Bueno said exactly what I felt like.
Yep.
Translating everything
that
James and Matt said.
But like, on the real, they have been very straightforward. And obviously the passage of time, new evidence, watching this team play for a whole season, that can change people's opinions. That's called growth, when you take new information and shift your mindset based on that. But they've been pretty straightforward from the start about what they're all about. They're trying to win a championship every single year. And whether that's realistic or not, whether trading this pick was a good idea or not, they've been pretty upfront. So we really can't, clutch our pearls and act surprised that they are being aggressive, that they're trading that pick and trying to divvy it up into multiple assets that they can try and get this deal done.
The Phoenix Suns are who they are. And I'm not saying you have to like it. And I actually do understand the mindset of people who are worried and maybe would have prefer an approach that is not like this, because what we are entering, I think, is not something that other teams have ever done. Yeah. Right? Other teams have gone all in. I don't think any other team will push the limits of what the NBA allows and what it means to truly be all in than the Phoenix Suns. And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And that is so exciting.
It is.
Because I get it. There is a massive cliff that you're staring at and you might fall over it. But you might not.
Yeah.
Right? This is so crazy, it just might work. And I think you have to kind of accept as a Phoenix Suns fan that you kind of have no control over it. Like, it is what it is. They're going to go all in. You can sit back and say you don't like it, but you're going on the ride anyway. You know, you're buckled in, keep your arms and your legs inside, and you're shooting off at 1,000 miles per hour. Like, it's happening no matter what you want, man.
There will never be a dull moment. I can promise that. Maybe the on-court product hasn't been fun this year or last year. Maybe it'll get even worse down the road. We don't know. But I do think the way that this team continually gets itself out of corners when it feels like they're getting backed into one, the wheeling and dealing has not stopped, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. And even for the people that think, okay, well, you trade for Jimmy Butler, you sign KD and Butler to extensions, this team doesn't win a championship, now you're left with aging players that you're not going to win anything with. They're going to find a way to wheel and deal again. You're going to get assets back when you blow it up. It's not going to be as much as you could get now for blowing it up, for sure. Like KD and Butler, they're both depreciating assets from a trade perspective. I totally get that. But if and when that day comes, at least you'll be able to look at this and say, we tried everything in our power to put a winning team around Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Maybe we didn't do it right. Maybe we made mistakes, but at least the effort was there. And I would rather have an owner that is hell-bent on trying to win than one that, like the Lakers or the Warriors, is just wasting away their superstars' prime, what's left of it.
Can't say it any better than that. You would rather see attempts be put up than sitting back and passively watching time just pass by.
Think about the reports coming out of LA. LeBron, Anthony Davis, not a fan of the fact that they don't think that the Lakers could be, you know, a team that actually goes all in, that consolidates their assets. You also have to understand that Matt Ishbia is not just doing this when it comes to like accumulating draft assets and trying to flip them or good players. It's investing in the players. He has made it so much easier to be an NBA player, right? Like the facilities, the health, like we've toured the facilities. We've seen the levels that this franchise is ascending to as far as being a destination for players. You don't turn away from that. You don't go around and say, you know what? We're going to try to be a destination for all the best stars in the league. I told you that I was going to compete when I first bought this team. I told you I was going to go all in at the end of last season. And guess what? Halfway through this one, I'm wrong. Like everybody would be like, oh, what a liar.
What an impetuous flip-flopping owner.
Right. It took you 2 years, right? It took you 2 years to go back on your word. And you don't have to like it, but he's already promised you what he's going to bring. And it's what Devin Booker wants. It's what Kevin Durant wants. It's why Jimmy Butler wants to come here. And it's why after we get through the Jimmy Butler saga, whether he ends up here or he doesn't, there's going to be another star on the list within the next couple of years whose number one destination is going to be the Phoenix Suns, because that is what this franchise is. And that's a destination. And they're not going to shoot 100%. They're not always going to get it right, but they'll probably be a destination if Book, Ishbia, and the lifestyle that you can get here is always on the table.
Yep.
Still might not bring you a championship.
Yeah. But they're going to try at least, which is more than I could say for the last guy.
And if you want a little bit more on that, our guy Espo did record a great video that's up on PHNX Sports right now about how going all in is the right move. You could check that out. Of course, you could check out Southwest Bias that Steven and I did about where Bradley Beal fits in the best as far as these other teams that have been mentioned in trade talks. Of course, slightly outdated by the fact the Bucks do not want Bradley Beal according to #Haynes Briefs. However, still a great listen because we get into a couple other teams as well that you would be interested about. You can go ahead and you can subscribe to PHNX. We hit our like goal. Thank you so much for everybody in here. Jacob, Jonas, Gilbert, King Nacho, Qwerty, Yu, Bees, Ted, Phillip, Strikeout, Jeaner, Luis, Nicholas, Jonas, Sparrow. Thanks to everybody, even Espo, who told me to call him boss, who's in the chat right now, who's dropped a like, who subscribed, everybody who's joined us afterwards on YouTube as well. And of course, for our sweet, sweet audio listeners, thank you so much for rating us 5 stars, letting us know what you like about the show and what we should keep doing. And of course, we will be back, not tomorrow. It's our off day. So everybody get ready for a Jimmy Butler trade. Or even better, doo-wop wreath for the trade exception.
Yeah, I'm going to still keep it an off day. But
I'll be here. All right, everybody. You can follow the show at PHNX_Suns. Thanks to Crazy Computer Boy Noah behind the Mac, making all the magic happen. And by magic, I mean crazy polls. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. You can follow Steven at StevenPG3. Oh, man. Be calm, see clearly with a $2 super chat. Not reading that. Don't put it up.
That was not so bad.
You read it then, Gerald.
Any pics of Devin Booker's print? I want to see heart emoji. See, we got through it.
There's
We made
Google.
it. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, Gerald, read the other one.
I don't see that one.
No, read the other one.
Ahoy, hoy.
No, read it. Thanks to everybody who's here. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourgay. And of course, remember, you can almost get us to say anything on a super chat, but be calm, see clearly. We have a line.
We all silly like the mayor.